from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased to have with me joining from Vancouver, Canada, Ali. Ali, thank you very much for being on the show. The way I like to do it is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves. So the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Thank you for inviting me to be on your show. I've had the opportunity to listen to a few of the prior episodes, so I'm very excited to be here and to chat with you. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I'm a marketer by trade. I've been in marketing for, I would say, 10 years at this point. When ChatGPT came out, I became obsessed with AI. And like many people, I've just tested and tested and tested to a point where I came to a discovery on how to leverage it in a meaningful way, and I'm building a product and products around that. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's the brief description.
that's great. But it's an interesting, move from marketing to kind of something related to tech. So let me ask you, what excited you about ChatGPT the most?
Yeah, I would say the thing that excited me the most about ChatGPT was the unlimited opportunities and the potential, right? Like you mentioned, it's very unique for somebody who's in the trade of marketing to start going into the AI space and start to build product. And I think with a tool like with ChatGPT, a marketer can now code significantly easier, allowing them to 10, 20, 30, 100x their potential by automating and by creating products that just amplify their work. So yeah, I would say the exciting thing about it was just the amplification opportunities that an individual can have.
Yeah, of course. Like I've seen this, happened a lot in the past. I would say now, been like almost 9, 10 months since ChatGPT is out to
Yeah.
the wild and a lot of tools out there. So, Ali, I understood that you specify in what is called prompt engineering, right? So, myself, I've been using it. I cannot say day one. Maybe it was like 4 days until I figured out, you know, that it was out to the wild. I knew about OpenAI. I always wanted to understand the API. I didn't have time to explore. But I was seeing, people, creating apps based on the API. But then they get it out to the wild, and here we go. And we started to hear about prompt engineering. So I want you to explain. Maybe we didn't do much here about, the art of prompt engineering, and what are like some of the advanced techniques.
Yeah, great question. So let's start with the art. What is prompt engineering? In the first place, it's really just talking to a computer. It's talking to a machine. And with tools like ChatGPT, you can now do that in natural language. In the past, you had to do it through code, but the learning curve for writing code is quite high. Not everybody can write code. So having a system that allows you to just simply talk to it and ask for what you want um, is ultimately prompt engineering. The challenges there is getting consistent results, the variables of natural language, what one person says and what another person says with a few different words can really change the outcome. Um, so yeah, prompt engineering is a natural language that one uses to speak with the computer. Um, when it comes to advanced techniques and the things that I've discovered, um, what I found was that as a marketer, using ChatGPT for some of the most common use cases, write content, write social content, write website content, create marketing briefs, creative briefs or website copy. What I found was that most people are accepting the first draft when they talk to ChatGPT, right?
Hmm.
Like you say, "Hey, please write an email," and then you get it, you get frustrated. You're like, "Wow, it sounds like ChatGPT wrote it. It's so obvious." But like in any situation, if you had an assistant, if you were working with a small marketing team, you never accept your team's first drafts. There's revisions that are required. There's evaluation and improvement. So what I found out was if I can ask ChatGPT to evaluate its own work,
Oh,
to give itself advice on how to improve itself, and then give it a loop so it continues to improve itself over and over and over again, your output is significantly better. And that was what I put together when I put my prompts together, which allows the average user to get honestly just really good results um, from the platform instead of accepting draft one. Yeah,
yeah, that's 100%. It's something also I explored myself as well. And the reason, for me, it was not like by chance that I discovered this, but because when, coming from a technical background, I like to understand, how things work. When I understood, how ChatGPT or other language models, they generate their content. So I figured out that actually they need to iterate on multiple contents themselves. And this
totally.
is why I started to, ask ChatGPT, um, okay, like, can you do it, but in this tone? Can you do it in that tone? And then I bring all them together and say, okay, tell me which one is the best. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, like really amazing. So Ali decided, to build a business out of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I decided to do was once I figured out my prompt framework, which is a bit of a unique framework, it's written in JSON format. The prompts that I have all start with a task, a role, success factors, a criteria that has to utilize, and then steps. So there's rules based on that. But ultimately, what ends up happening is a user with any level of experience can pick a prompt. For example, write me a marketing plan. Um, they put in my prompt. GPT asks them a series of 5 questions. It does the work, it evaluates the work, and then gives itself advice. And then it asks the user, do you want me to revise the work based on my feedback? Do you have any questions or so on? So like, once I figured that process out in that framework, what I did is I built a community called AI for Work. There's about 2,700 prompts on it. There's about 140 different uh, job titles, all categorized within departments, marketing, legal, medical, and so on. I wasn't ready to launch it, but I spoke with an individual on TikTok just in the comment section, and he found it, and he ended up making a video about it before I was ready to put it public. And I woke up one morning and there was 400 people who signed up.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then at this point, it's about 40 days in, and there's 12,000 people who have signed up. There's no marketing. It's just this one TikTok and a lot of word of mouth. So it shows me that the need and the desire for knowledge workers to really leverage this tool and maximize the results from it, improve the way they work is quite high. I think the interest there is there.
Yeah, I've been, I checked your website, and because, this is something I want you to talk about. So people think usually that, okay, we know it's good, Chat GPT or any other, maybe the other ones also that are catching up now, like Bard and
Yeah,
Claude. But, in general, so people think that the only way I can use it is to, marketing content. But
yeah,
when I checked your website, I've seen plenty of use cases, right? So
sure.
can you, elaborate more about, what else other than just marketing content that, people can leverage this technology for?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're seeing is this tool, specifically GPT-4, when we compare all the options, is the most powerful one at the moment there. It's the one that provides the best results. What we're seeing is we're seeing an expert co-pilot for any role. And from different use cases, the ones that I found to be very effective, legal, right? Like not only writing contracts, but figuring out the steelman argument in a case,
Hmm.
or the strawman argument. Uh, the next one is medical. There was just a report that came out that ChatGPT for doctors, ChatGPT got it right about 76% of the time. Um, I've used prompts to help diagnose situations for my son, who's 1 years old. after seeing, like, before seeing his doctor. And I go to the doctor's office and I know exactly what I'm talking about. I have the exact outcome that the doctor's coming out with. And he's quite impressed. He's like, how did you know that? Right. Like, so I think the use cases, is anything that requires expertise or information can now, this can be a co-pilot and help guide you to the right answer.
That's
Definitely not
fantastic.
just content. Yeah.
Yeah, not content, but like if you want to convince me, like imagine now I'm a business owner, right? And uh, let's say I'm kind of an anti-technology a little bit, but
For
you
sure.
need
Yeah.
to, yeah, you need to I'm doing this question on purpose, by the way.
Yeah.
So, and you want like 2-3 sentences, like you want to convince me why I should consider leveraging AI into my day-to-day business. So what you can tell?
Yeah. So say you're a business owner who, is anti-technology, but you think in terms of investments, in and out, inputs and outputs. I would say that the leveraging AI, is the greatest leverage opportunity in the workplace right now. Um, for the simple reason is you can hire a non-experienced individual and empower them to think and to perform like a much higher experienced individual. For example, you could hire a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and ask them to make decisions based on a framework that you provide. Um, you could ask them to leverage ChatGPT to build SOPs, um, to complete tasks, quite advanced tasks. Um, so I would just say you get significantly more out of your current team. They can all perform better, and which allows you to just be more competitive in the marketplace. But then the second thing that I would say is the investments happening outside of this one conversation amongst a business owner that's anti-tech and reality is, every company, um, literally every company at this moment is trying to figure out how to use AI. And if you ignore it, um, you're going to be left well behind. Google announced that they're releasing Duet AI, which is going to be, an assistant for every employee. ChatGPT, Enterprise. So the technology is happening so fast, and whether you want to use it or not, how essential it becomes to your business, I think the market will dictate that.
100%. And I asked you this question as I was telling you, so I will explain why I asked you this way.
Yeah,
Because some people they think it's a hype. Some people they think, yeah, like we still need, usually this is what happens when a new technology comes up, right? So
for
back in
sure.
the days when something new, they would say, okay, let's see a couple of guys, the early adopters, let's go with it, and then we will think about it. But I'm telling people, guys, this is a moment different than any other, technology or new technology moment. And it's like a one that happens every 10 years, maybe. So the previous one, in my opinion, it was the smartphone.
For sure.
Um, yeah. So, and, we had like a couple of things before that. And this is where you cannot ignore this technology. And, like I remember people who ignored the mobile game at that time, they
Yeah,
lost, right? But here, they had like at least 2-3 years time frame before they figure it out. But here, I think you have weeks, if not months,
exactly.
right? So things are coming very, very fast. Now, um, I know you talked about GPT-4, but have you tried yourself, Ali, to evaluate the other ones also as well, like BART? Or I know that from API perspective, BART, it's Google, they didn't open it yet, but I mean, from prompt perspective, and people sometimes they say that the Entropy, the cloud one is like better sometimes. So what you can tell us about, this topic?
Yeah. Okay, so I've tested, I wouldn't say all of them because I haven't tested the smaller, lesser known ones, but all the popular ones, Bing, Bard, Claude, OpenAI, I've tested them all. And I would say that there's no such thing as a perfect prompt, right? The What is a user's goal, and what can be achieved? Um, After testing all of them, um, Bing is by far the worst. Um, And it's the worst because it uses GPT-4, but it's very, very, very safe. It's a safe to use tool. And what I mean by that is you could just go back and forth with it and it ends the conversation. It says, I do not
Mm.
have the opportunity to answer this. And it's like, if you're working and you need a real answer, it doesn't get you to the final stage. It's annoying, to work with, unfortunately. Um, Bard is a fantastic tool. Um, but it's not as good as GPT-4. It'll do a lot of different things. So once again, there's no perfect prompt. Um, so it depends on what the user's goal is. For Bard, I think many people will get what they need. Claude is a fantastic one. The context windows is 100,000 characters, which allows you to put in long PDFs, long podcast transcripts, and ask questions with it. I think it's incredibly useful, but others will catch up to that. And then when it comes to testing all the different OpenAI ones, GPT-4 just blows it out of the water. The prompts that I have on AI for work only work with GPT-4. Um,
Mhm.
um, so yeah, just the reasoning capabilities, and the fact that with GPT-4, when you put in such a large mega prompt, it doesn't forget it after after three back and forths, which is
Yeah.
incredibly impressive.
Yeah, unfortunately, where I live, I know like people they told me you can put a VPN and you can try a cloud, but I don't want to do it this way. I want to put my hands on it. I need access to. I need maybe in the future access to the API. So, but I have a
For
friend
sure.
who tried it and it said good. Uh, Bing, yeah, I agree with you. It's like very limited. Um, Bard, it's good when it comes sometimes to like more recent information that it's not in the knowledge base of ChatGPT, right?
Totally, totally.
But to your point as well, and I'm waiting for the duet to come out and see what enhancement
Yeah.
they have been doing. Google Bard, it's fantastic, but for me, sometimes it did the same thing that you talked about Bing. So it stops, the conversation. And the other day, for example, I was saying, like I need a summary about this topic, and this is some information, and it refused because like, oh, I don't know anything about this topic.
Yeah.
And it's not that it needs to go and search, and like, so I didn't understand exactly my prompt, and a couple of minutes back I repeated the same prompt. I didn't change anything, maybe a couple of commas and dots here and there. And here you go. But I never faced this issue with ChatGPT, honestly. And the reason I'm asking you this, because people in the past few weeks they started to say that the performance of GPT-4, like, it's degraded a little bit. I didn't see that, but from someone who's been like working extensively and building the prompts, what have you seen? Do we really saw some degradation in the model, and really GPT 3.5 became better? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, great question. Um, So I would say there's a trick here. So the trick that I found to be working the best, because like when I thought about creating the platform that I created, which is diverse in the sense of so many different roles, so many different levels of expertise will be using this, I had to figure out how to get the most consistent results um, from GPT for any different skill level. I tested natural language prompts, but the problem was that the it never gave me a consistent result. So like if I wrote a paragraph and you tested it, and then I tested it, and then my wife tested it, and her friend says, everybody would have something very different come out of it. But what I found is that if you can write your prompts in a structured language like JSON, that have parameters like rules, steps, uh, and provided a great deal of guidance, the results are always very, very consistent, which is odd because this is a natural language platform that should understand natural language. But I found that there was drift, specifically with GPT-4. And you can even see it when you're when you're on ChatGPT. They say the model number on the URL, and I found that as I refresh it, the model number keeps changing. It's using an older model or a different type of model, and I think they're likely doing that just from a capacity standpoint, to make sure the platform stays live. Um, But what I keep testing the prompts written in JSON format, the results continue to be consistent. There was no drift, and it just worked out better. So yeah, I would say drift exists. Um, they do switch up the models on you, um, but if you really want the best results, I would say structure your prompts in JSON format.
Yeah, that's good point. Just I can add like my own views now.
Yeah.
Um, of course, 3.5 enhanced a lot.
Yep.
3.5. I can
Yeah.
see, the latest one, it's almost as good as GPT-4. It doesn't have the what I call it the reasoning part, like the ability
Yeah.
to iterate, a couple of prompts. Still, it lacks this, but it's much better than when they released it at the beginning. A couple of months back. The other thing, and here where what you do, Ali, and what I try sometimes to do is the prompt itself. So for people who doesn't know, when Ali is mentioning, structured format, this is what the language models they like actually, because this is how the best the algorithm will work. From my experience, because I know how I need to give that, so I didn't face this problem honestly much. What helped me is when I checked the API documentation of uh, OpenAI. So they added something called, role of the AI. What do you want it to be? Do you want it to be an agent? Do you want it to be an assistant, or do you want it to be a user? Right. And based on that, when I understood the logic behind, but of course, like not everyone have the access. I mean, not everyone is a tech savvy, I would say, and they will understand the APIs. But I tried to take this and convert it to, you know, to the ChatGPT, the chat box that we
Yeah.
see. And I found that if I structure it the way you mentioned, honestly, I didn't see any drifters. Like on the opposite, and guys, wait, let's say fact. And Ali, I want you to explain this also as well to the full. Like, and this is because you have mastered, I would say now. Um, have you seen it like also beside drifting, but does it get better when it start to know more about you and what you are trying to achieve? Have you seen this?
100%. Absolutely. Okay, so if you're in marketing, if you were to ask ChatGPT to provide you a script for a Facebook ad for your business, the first response would be very generic. But if you were to say, "Hey, please provide me a script for this Facebook ad. Here's my customer persona. Here are the pain points that they're currently dealing with. Here's an analysis of their customer reviews, what they love, what they don't love." And these are three examples of really good um, advertisements that I really like. The output on the second one is going to be so much better and so much more personalized than that first one. So yes, more context and more higher quality context will definitely get you a better result.
Yeah, 100%. And I think they added recently, I think it's only for the plus users. So sorry if you are watching or listening to this and you are not a plus. So they have added something which they call, you can give some information which ChatGPT always remember whenever you are, and then it's kind of a customization. It's called custom instructions actually. So I can tell them like, this is my name. I host the CTO Show podcast. This is my consultancy. And whenever I ask a question, it tries to go and relate to that. So this helps also. Now let's jump on something which it's my best episode ever. And I was doing solo that time. AI agents.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
So,
ahead.
yeah. So, because when the first time, I think it was like 2 or 3 months back, I cannot remember, when I saw the first video about Auto GPT and then later on baby AGI, yeah. And all of a sudden they start to pop everywhere. And I had a guest and we talked about how powerful they are. But from your experience, Ali, and I know that you have explored them, what you
Yeah.
can tell us? What's happening in that
Okay.
space?
So my AI for work business is really just a community. It's building a distribution. We have an email list and so on. It's not the core function of my focus right now. My core function, what I'm building, is around AI agents for the workplace. Um, so you already know what AI agents are. I think within 2 years, every company is going to hire AI employees, digital employees that do critical tasks. Um, what I've seen today is there are many tools that are trying to be as useful as possible, but they just don't meet the mark. They're not useful. They glitch out. The promise is there, but the reality is that they're just not very useful. They don't get the job done. The best use cases that I've come across are things like research, um, to help me do research, or to gather information. But I think what's starting to trickle out to all these new inventions happening literally in the last 7 days, 8 days, is giving us this uh, opportunity to really build a useful product that can autonomously figure out next steps, so that one can actually build a digital employee. Yeah, so that's kind of a summary of where I'm at with AI agents. But yes, I've tested many of the different platforms, um, and I don't find them to be great today.
They lack, I would say, actually, when people they start to talk about hallucination of ChatGPT, so it's like hallucination multiplied times 5 or times 6. It's not
Yes.
hallucination, but they can go off topic. I would say I tried them a couple of times. To be fair, I was impressed because at the end of the day, the logic behind them is very strong, both from a technical perspective, and they are actually trying from some of the guys who participate in these open source projects when they are
Yeah.
into psychology and they are into like such things. But as you said, Ali, I agree with you. What I figured out that even on the search research part, they can drift very quickly. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, I say, okay, go search a niche in this specific and go and find 10 and then put them at the end in a Word document or like a text document, whatever it is, because they are like all comment line, software.
Yeah.
Eh, you know, uh, i- it's very promising, by the way. But I
Yeah.
think I think for this one we need to wait. But honestly, I'm not expecting to wait much. I'm believing people are saying years. I believe months. I think we are
I
months
think
away.
months.
Yeah, and I want to see, once Google also release, their APIs, and when, like cloud becomes more like globally available, I want to see. And then we have Llama from Facebook also as well. So all these things happening very, very fast. So leads to my next question, Ali. Like, uh, what are we going to be doing, next? How our work job our what will be our job descriptions actually in the workplace?
Yeah. Um, I think I've thought about that an awful lot, and the honest answer is I don't know. I really don't know because I think many prominent CEOs will come out and they'll say, "Hey, AI is not going to take your job," including the CEO of GitHub. Right? He's like, "Programming is not going to be taken over uh, by AI," and he has better visibility than I do um, in that. But based on what I'm seeing, and when I think about it from a philosophical standpoint, I think what we're going to see in the next 2 years is the adoption of AI agents in such a significant way, capturing uh, market share in it like rapidly. There's a tool called Air.ai. It does sales calls. It has an AI agent that calls your customer, has a conversation with them, books a meeting. That is one of the biggest information and knowledge roles today. Um, but if you can have an AI agent do that reliably, um, I can't imagine why you would pay somebody 60, 70, $80,000 a year to do that job when you could deploy software to do it at $400 a month. The challenge right now with that tool is that it's not perfect. There's a small gap between the conversation when it starts and ends, and the pauses are a little more, but they're going to solve that problem pretty quickly. Um, and if you can deploy 1,000 of these calling agents, why would your team grow rapidly anymore, right? Like you would just do so much. You would be able to achieve so much more with such a smaller team. Um, so I think AI agents is going to be detrimental to the workplace. And I think these promises that we're seeing, where AI will not take your job, is because they see that there's no deployable tool today that isn't completely reliable. But like you said, it'll take months for that to be solved. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know what
yeah,
the future looks like there.
Yeah, no one can predict the future 100%, but two things quickly from my side on this one.
Yeah.
I remember, still OpenAI, I think they were like maybe 2 years old. It was 2016 or 2015, where I shared an article. I wrote an article.
Yeah.
And then I asked this question. In the future, would be seeing a machine selling to a machine, right?
Yeah.
And at that time, because I was seeing the trend that automation and of course, we were thinking when we thought about automation, we were thinking about robots, right? Not like as a software, but a real robot.
Yeah.
And it came to my mind, okay, so if a robot can talk, or let's say now it's an AI powered voice software, right? So if it can talk, if it can do calls, if it can send emails, right? Fine. Because we are assuming the hypothesis here is like on the other side, we have a human.
Right.
What if on the other side it was an AI also as well? And then like imagine like an AI calling an AI say, hey, I have the solution that you should you should see. So and the reason I'm mentioning this, Ali, because I believe personally that the type of work we will be doing is different. So like if you are today a sales guy, let's say, or a marketing guy, you will be an kind of a chef of orchestra, I would say, right? So you are the one just giving the instructions, and there's like
Mhm.
this, you know, autonomous bots, let's call them, that they are doing the
Yeah.
job for you, and it will not replace your job. And I think when they are saying it will not replace, they are not giving the 100% accurate, in my opinion, phrase.
Yeah.
You will not lose your job, but you will not be doing the same job that you are doing today, because your
Certainly.
job would be to, I would say, operate AI. And if you don't know how to operate AI, this is what will happen. So this is where you will lose your job. So it's philosophical. I agree with you. But anyway, uh, I like to follow people who does entrepreneurial work, and for you, I think you are building this in public, right?
I am.
So tell me, because the movement of building public is, it's been quite some time over there. So tell me, what are the advantages and the challenges of building something in public?
Yeah, that's such a great question because you're absolutely right. We're seeing this major trend of building in public, and just transparent uh, founders. Um, the biggest challenge is being vulnerable, right? Looking stupid amongst more established players in the area, um, sharing trade secrets that you discover publicly is definitely a major risk. For example, for me just building in public, I'm finding out things. I'm finding out clever ways to acquire customers at a much lower rate, and my competitors are all following me. They're all seeing what I'm doing. The major benefit is connecting. When it comes to social media, it's after testing out many different ways to post, the things that seem to resonate the most with an audience is a story of triumph, like being able to accomplish something, and they see themselves in you when you're building in public, and you're able to connect with so many people at a deeper level. That when you do meet with people through it, and I've met with so many people at this point of all different places in their career. But the intent of the conversation is how can I help you, right? Like that's the biggest benefit, uh, because you're publicly asking for support, um, and people are connecting with that.
Yeah. And did you use some other than social media? Because I've seen people, and I tried it myself a couple of months back just for the
Yeah.
sake of trying. Have you used something like Product Hunt or these platforms?
Yeah, I've definitely used Product Hunt, but my audience is really small, which is a big reason why I decided to do the whole build in public and start to look for new connections. My audience has been really small. Uh, y- Building this platform that I'm building now, building it in public, has allowed me to amplify that quite rapidly. Um, But yeah, I've used product planning before. I didn't get good traction on it because I just wasn't able to drive an audience externally that I didn't have.
Yeah. And what are your plans, Ali? Like, what's next?
Yeah. So right now I'm working on an MVP for an AI agent. Um, Everything that you said was 100% accurate, but there's, I think, one part that you may have missed, right? Because you stated that I think the future of work is somebody sitting in an operational role working with autonomous agents. And I think to a degree that is going to be a stage, but there will be a time where these will develop to a point where it'll be hands off, where an agent will buy and sell to another agent. Um, and the reason I say that is because based on the work that I'm doing and what I'm seeing is um, the framework of an agent makes a lot of sense, right? You decide the task, you decide the steps to achieve it, you figure out the right tools to connect with, and you continuously do it. The problem that we're missing right now, and I think this is the secret sauce amongst the many, many AI agent companies that are going to come out, is going to be the decision making framework, right? When you hire an employee, you're hiring them based on their ability to make good judgment. Um, and making good judgment can be mathematical. It could be a rubric for decision making. Um, and one thing with AI agents is you could have 100 AI agents as a knowledge base to make the decision together and have multiple iterations before the final decision made. But I would bet that within a 2 year period of time, we will be able to have AI agents that can make better decisions than the operator and that over a period of time, we'll be able to trust those decisions much better. Um,
So, what will
yeah,
you be doing, Ali? Tell me.
I have no idea, but I think the most common thing that others say is likely some sort of UBI, universal basic income, where people don't have the amount of hours that they work, that the amount of work is reduced. Um, but I think I think it's hard to tell. Because the real question is, when will we first get the taste of this, right? Like, if autonomous driving comes out in the next 24 months, and uh, there's a significant change in truck drivers, that could be the first major hit, right? Like that's we haven't seen such large displacement yet, but we're going to start to see that rapidly over the next 2 to 10 years. I don't know what the future is going to look like in that scenario, and I don't even know how we're going to react to the first iteration of it. It was leaked that Shopify is going to be laying off about 1,600 employees in customer success. Um, so the question is like, why? What made them to have this decision? Well, they just released an AI chatbot. This AI chatbot helps the user figure out the best ways to use the platform, uh, really just taking over the customer success role. There's more engagement. The users using it every day versus a success manager that they'll call once in a blue moon. I think this is one of the first times we're seeing a new AI tool being released to the public and then seeing layoffs being so correlated to it. Um, yeah, it's a tough
Yeah,
situation.
it is. I'm on the optimistic side of this, Ali. I can say because I believe the society will evolve to
Yeah,
to a place where like it's acceptable that okay, because see, like you have because you mentioned you have to come up with the outcomes. So a human have to come up with the outcomes. You have to put the plan. Now, regardless who does this, it's another story. I'm seeing it as another liberation, by the way, for humanity. Because if you remember
yeah,
100, 150 years back, like people were forced to go and work for someone else in their farms and they were getting peanuts, right? And then, like, industrial revolution, all this. But again, we did the same thing. But now we are on a place where everyone has this technology. It's very democratized, I would say. It's in the hand of everyone. So it's up to the people. Like if you want to achieve, financial freedom, let's say you need to learn about this technology, or like you would say, yeah, like I'm expecting the changes to be faster than other people are expecting. So people are talking about usually like all my guests and all the experts in the field. They are saying the optimistics ones, I mean, in the sense of when this will happen, they are saying 2 years. The more like they are saying that it's gonna take time, regulations will come up and blah blah blah. They are saying 5 years. I'm seeing it like shorter than this. Because the amount of innovation that is coming out of that and the amount of things yesterday, and of course, when this will be released, it will be like a couple of weeks after, but just yesterday, although I have technology background, I never wrote code. I mean, back in the college, I wrote code, but I mean,
Yeah.
I came up with a fully fledged idea of an app, and I was able to give that to something that use GPT, and with the interface, with the sign in mechanism, with the payment gateway, and it
Wow.
was it's an alpha version, of course. I'm thinking
For
should I
sure.
release it or not? But yeah, but if you think about how things go fast, like 9 months only ago, it was just a chat box, right? And here
Yeah.
we go after 9 months now, or maybe less. Yeah, we have a huge, completely different landscape for this. So we have to wait and
Mm.
see. So, Ali, as we I come to the end, where people can find more about you.
Yeah, for sure. So they can find me on LinkedIn, just Ali Abassi, or they could go on the website aiforwork.co. I think they'll find, um, they'll see how I structure prompts. They can learn from it. Um, but I'm sorry, there's just one thing I have to tell you based on what you just
Sure,
mentioned. Okay, so
please.
you mentioned, I'm assuming you use the platform Cursor, um, to complete
Which
the application. Did you use
which one?
Cursor? You
No,
said
no,
you didn't. No, okay, so you
no, no.
used
It's,
something. Okay.
I tried a couple of them. So I think one was called. Actually, all of them they are good.
Yeah.
Honest, honestly speaking, so the ones I tried, and just I tried, I was trying them. By the time when this comes up, it will be 2 weeks back. So I'm not sure there will be more tools by the time. So there is one called Type Block, um,
Mhm.
yeah, Type Block, and there's another one called Framer can do this also, by the way,
Mhm.
the design tool. And there is something called Pico. So Pico is what
Okay.
I use. Pico.
Nice.
And still there are like 2, 3 tools I want to evaluate. It was late at night, and I stopped after some time because, I figured out that I've been sitting for 2 hours evaluating these tools. And, you are a marketer yourself, and I learned this. Like, it's very easy to be hooked up because when you give free, like they give you 100 credits, or for example, like 10 tries, so
Yeah.
you say, okay, and no credit card required. So, of course, yeah, why not? Let's try it. So, yeah. You wanted to say something, Ali?
I think with the advancement of these tools, and they're advancing so fast as you mentioned, I think the real threat here is going to be large corporations that think that they have software moats today. And the reason I say that is right now, yes, you could build an alpha version of an application, but I think 2 years from now, if you said, "Hey, build me a CRM that's just like HubSpot," you can build a CRM just like HubSpot. Um, so the cost of implementing expensive software starts to go down significantly for every user because now you can just build your own version of it. Build me my own version of Salesforce. Build me my own version of
Oh,
Workera, right? Like, and I think that's the real disruption that we're going to start to see in the high tech sector.
I don't like, I'm very transparent guy, Ali. This is now, one of my pillars that sometimes when I talk to someone, I say, hey, um, don't get me wrong, but what if you can build your own CRM, inventory management system, and you can customize it the way you want? Why? Because simply you
Yep.
can do that with AI. And it's kind of a productized service that I'm trying to build myself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it resonated with a lot of people, so I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make sure that the link is there. And is there anything else, Ali, you wish I had asked you?
Um, Great question.
Or anything you want
So
to add?
yeah. No, your line of questioning was fantastic. You asked everything from AI agents to the future of work to prompt drifting. I think that was very conclusive. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and to speak to your
Yeah,
audience.
so I keep this window. I ask this question not to put someone in a hard situation.
Mhm.
I ask this question just in case I missed something, during my preparation because I put in my mind, this is the sequence I will follow for the questions, and maybe
Yeah.
at some stage, I will forget. So yeah, thank you very much, Ali, and thank you for staying late this time. It's really late for you. And this for the audience, guys. I am liking the reviews that you are writing. Keep them coming, and tell me what you want to hear about more. Like you recently, you said you want to hear more about AI, because I was thinking that I covered a lot of AI. So keep your feedbacks coming. What are the topics you want me to cover? I'll try to find like esteemed guests, like I came across with Ali. I was following him, and then we get in touch. And here you go. He was a guest today. And if you want to be a guest as well, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We'll make the arrangement. No problem at all. And as I say always, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you again in the next episode. Bye bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.